Hello, and welcome to another Haven Tree Parent Podcast, where we get a chance to get away from the kids before they wake up and talk about something that's important to us and to you. Yeah.
Today's special guest is Cleo. She's actually a return visitor. She's not going to be with us very much longer, though, because she's getting old enough to go to her new home.
Yay.
So I wanted to take another opportunity to snuggle with her, because the kids are trying to get all the snuggles in they can right now.
Mm-hmm. They keep asking me, can we have puppies? Can we carry them?
I know. They want to just get all the last minute snuggles in because they know what's coming.
And they're still doing their crate and pod training, or pad training or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Cleo is joining us today to talk about love languages, and particularly acts of service. That is going to be a very interesting topic, because acts of service is one that Josh very much likes, and I don't recognize as being loving at all. And so we've had quite a bit of friction with this one, so it'll be fun to talk about.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. So I like talking about acts of service, I think, the most, because it's, in my opinion, and like you said, it's one of the areas that I like to give the most of, as far as like love languages go. It's just something that's easy to make visible again. And I think the same thing as with physical touch and gifts and some of the other love languages that are more obvious. It's obvious when you're trying to do an act of service because you're cleaning up a room or trying to take care of something, or you're going beyond the need with that service, is my opinion. You know, like you cleaned up somebody's yard for them, you moved a bunch of boxes around, you did something that was physical and major, as far as like being an obvious thing that has been achieved successfully. You know, like I always say, like when you start with something, start with the big items and then you'll work your way down to the tiny items or something. So
whereas when Josh does acts of service around the house, I'm like, yeah, because you live here. Like that's part of living here is doing the chores. Whereas he's like, I did the dishes because I love you. And I'm like, you did the dishes because you have to do the dishes. So I have to be gracious and recognize that when he does something like that, it's because he's trying to say I love you. Like that's a different way that he's saying like, hey, I did this thing that took time because I love you. And then I'm basically like garbage, you know, like don't care, you know, and
not good enough.
So
Go bigger.
So I have to.
There's only so many dishes.
Right. And it's and it's not because I don't appreciate it, right? Like I do appreciate that you help. If you didn't help around the house, I would be really grouchy. But it doesn't say, I don't feel loved from that. I just feel like, thanks. That's needed to be done. Like, you know, and I just take like a very like pragmatic approach. Whereas you're like, I expect like kisses when I do the dishes, you know, and so you're wanting love back for the love that you were trying to show, I guess. Mm-hmm. And when I don't, you know, show that or recognize that or even acknowledge that as such, you know, it's kind of sending an unintended message. And I think as adults, it's something that we can like laugh about and understand and like be silly about.
Yeah. And we've figured out like different aspects of like, oh, okay, so my time doing this aspect of like what I think is a good act of service isn't. And so like it's helped me to manage my time better, knowing that that's not something that's super effective in like giving my time for. She would rather my time for other things, as
like,
far
just
as like
snuggle me or talk to me.
Yeah.
Like
take me out to dinner and I'll do the dishes tomorrow when you're at work. Like it's not a big deal to do them. You know, it's helpful, sure, but if you want me to do something that's affection, I want time with you. Yeah. And not time with you, you know, cleaning the garage over there while I'm stuck holding 5 babies and you know, doing other things.
Yeah. So as adults, you know,
we've had the conversations to figure out time management of focusing in on our love languages of, you know, he can do an extra service in this way, and that will actually be positive. And
Right. Or helpful at least, or, you
right.
know.
And so now I get like a nice prioritized list, 1, 2, 3, like do these things, and that will make me happy. I'm like, cool.
And
no
it's
problem.
nice too, because then I feel like you're listening to
Right. And
to
then you
what's
feel
important
heard.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Versus me coming in again, be like, I did the dishes again. Like, that's not what I needed.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I think when you have kids and acts of service is their love language or the way that they show love,
I feel
it's
like this is all going to be about Jay, because she will fly and
yeah.
try to run in front of anybody else that was asked to do anything. Like, Mom and Dad said, get the whatever. I'm going to get it first.
Yeah.
And then they all start crying. I was the one I was told to get it.
that's very true. I hadn't actually thought about that. That's funny.
Yeah, it's going to be a very much Jay conversation.
But if that's your kid's love language, you need to be really careful that you don't, you know, trample all over their little heart like I did to you early on in our marriage. You know, like
Crushed. I was crushed.
All the
I'm
time.
just going to lay here and you can just have time with me, I guess.
right. Well, you know, like I said, it was just sort of like, congrats, you did the dishes.
Yeah.
You know, like you live in this house,
Yeah.
so, you know, like to me, I didn't understand that was a way of saying I love you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it didn't occur to me, and so, like I said, we've learned each other, you know, and we've learned to give grace. We've learned to say thank you rather than like duh, you know, or whatever. I don't know that I ever said duh to you like that, but you know, like we've learned to say thank you.
Yeah.
And recognize and appreciate that, even if it's not what I wanted. But with kids, they don't have the ability to think like that. Like, we're their parents. They need us to be thankful and recognize those things. So I think that acts of service is one that both on the giving and receiving end of that is a little bit interesting when you're talking about kids. And we've kind of talked about if kids are giving you acts of service and they're wanting you to recognize their message of I love you, it's important to receive that and be thankful for that. Even if they're doing something that isn't necessarily what you would want. Like, you know, like, look, I rearranged the living room furniture. And you're like,
no.
Great. Right? Like, so like something like that would be a little bit of a challenge because I didn't want the living room furniture rearranged at all.
Yeah. The couch turned around facing the wall helps nobody. It might be a
Right.
fun boat or canoe for you that you've made,
But that may be them saying like, I love you so much that I wanted to do something special for you. And this is, you know, what I came up with. And like,
yeah, because we'll do that to them. We'll change the room around. Like
Right.
they came back in from riding bikes the other day, and we're like, "Whoa, the living room's all different." Because
Yeah,
we moved a
we-
couch
yeah, I
from that
moved-
corner to this wall, and just tried to, you know, repurpose. Once you take down the Christmas tree, it's like you gotta move things around. Not that we just took it down. It's been down for a while.
and I've not been happy. I move furniture around a lot
yeah.
in my house anyway.
Things
So
things always change around here.
it's important that even if you're not in love with what they did, that you appreciate that and then are gentle with sort of the follow-up. You know, if you have to say like, I really appreciate that you spent so much time and hard work doing this to make the living room look so beautiful. I have a couple of concerns. So maybe we can talk about those together and come up with a way to fix that. But I am so thankful that you worked really hard. It's obvious that you spent a lot of time and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's always ways to be thankful while not like letting them run the house or like do things that are ridiculous or whatever, you know, or if it's something that's like very not appropriate, like they decided to try to paint the house, like,
Yeah.
you know, like there would have to be a conversation about like, I appreciate that you are trying to help because you heard me say the house needed to be repainted, but that's something that a professional does, not you with the nail polish or, you know, whatever.
Right.
You know,
Whatever
and
thing.
so even in that,
And that's what I was gonna say. You know, like Jay probably gets in trouble for trying to be the most helpful with those things because
Yeah.
we'll like make a comment about something and then she'll be like off trying to do it, and we're like,
you're making a mess. You're
Please-
breaking stuff.
please understand it was a conversation about making a plan to do that and not
Right.
just jumping in and whatever. So, but the biggest thing
Yeah.
I think that was and the last issue with acts of service type of stuff not that it's an issue. It was just something that was like, well, you went too far with that.
Right.
What we had let them go get the mail like in the fall, and like,
Yeah.
and now with the whole COVID thing, we're like, no, don't touch the mailbox. We gotta
Right.
spray everything that comes through. So we're wearing gloves to go grab it ourselves because we gotta be protective of Kenzie and just like the whole biosecurity sort of measures for the home.
Yeah.
And like we have a table in the garage, so we just spray everything out. And so like she saw the truck because she was riding a bike and we were fixing something on the back porch. I think we got a new table and I was trying to put that together. And so we were all outside, but she was going through the garage to go get her bike or whatever and saw the delivery truck and ran up and got the whatever box. And, you know, I'm upset with them for even handing it to her because we have a little side box that says, put everything in here that we're supposed to go get it out of. So anyway, that was like the one little extra that was like, thank you for doing an act of service, but
Right,
that we,
right.
you know, we've always appreciated because like I said, all last year they were able to run out there and go meet with whoever delivery guy. And now we're like, do not talk to anybody. Stay in the driveway back by
Yeah.
the cars and, you know, don't go over
Yeah.
there.
And then, yeah. So, I mean, there's issues with when they try to do service for you that's not helpful, right?
Yeah. Well, and that was a loophole we didn't plan for. So
Right. Yeah. And that one's kind of weird. I think on the flip side of that, then the other thing that's really challenging is how do you as a parent show them love and serve them? Because like as parents, I mean, just like physical touch, I'm like usually kind of touched out. Like everybody
Yeah.
wants a piece of,
Yeah.
you know, snuggle and whatever. Like I'm also like, I'm doing your laundry. I'm making your food. I'm keeping the house clean. I'm helping you with your schoolwork. Like
Right.
I'm doing all of these things. I'm feeding you all the time. Like one of my favorite things that somebody's ever said, after Kenzie was diagnosed, I had a cousin come and she would stay with us for a little bit. Like 3 or 4 days at a time. And then she would go back home. So she did that 2 or 3 times, I think. And one day she said, you know, like they just need to eat all the time. Like I feel like I'm always in the kitchen. And it's true, you know, like as an adult, like if I didn't have kids, I would like go and like grab a snack when I felt like it. But like I would probably eat like one real meal a day, right? Like
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's just different when you're an adult, right?
Yeah.
But like kids, they like expect a meal for breakfast and then they need a snack and then it's time for lunch.
Yeah.
And like when you have 5, that's a lot of dishes. That's a lot of food to put on the dishes. It's a lot of food to put away. The dishes, you got to put them all in the sink. You got to clean up the table. You got to put all the food back away. Like there's like just feeding them appropriately.
It's a mini restaurant. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
an all-day production just to get them fed. And then you have to change diapers and you have to like clean or do laundry or,
Right.
you know, plunge a toilet. Like, like it's a never ending. Like that's part of like parenting is doing 101 things for your kid. Right.
Right.
So how do you, if their love language is acts of service, like how do you demonstrate that in a way that's going to be meaningful to them?
Well, and I think that's definitely something like we keep working towards or finding ways to do. Like, you know, I am all about helping them clean up or helping them do the things that they're asked of that they don't care to do. So it's like, it's hard for them. So like, okay, I'll help you put like half of the dishes away if you start doing just the plates and just stack them off to the side of the dishwasher and, you know, or, you know, just clearing the table and other little things like I'll get your plate since you helped the baby.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I think it's those little things of like you're taking away a chore for them in an active service type of way.
Right.
That's small but still significant because they're like, oh, great, I don't like doing that. And now Dad said he'll do that.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I think your example of like, how about I'll take your plate to the sink and you could take my plate to the sink.
Right.
Like you guys are both doing the work that you're supposed to do technically,
Yeah.
but like it means I love you enough that I'm going to take your plate to the sink.
Right.
Right. And then you're showing me that you love me by taking my plate to the sink. Like that's not a big deal.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, but then they'll want to do that when Grammy's over or Nana or whoever
Right.
else is over. They're like, oh, you're going to take Nana's plate? That's even, you can get an extra star on your chart. So
Right. And I think similarly, you know, we want our kids to be independent. We want our kids to put away their own laundry and clean up their
If they were all independent, like life would be easy. But
clean up their room and put away their toys and blah, 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 blah.
yeah.
But then, like, there are times where I feel stressed and it would be nice if someone helped me do the things that I'm supposed to do just because, like, it'd just be nice to, like, have a little bit of help when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I think our kids have that kind of experience too sometimes where, like, maybe they're whining about having to wash their hands, or they're whining about doing something that they always do, right? And it's irritating to us as parents, like, especially just whining in general, like, irritating. Whining makes me feel a little bit crazy, but
Yeah. And I think it does it to both of us, especially when it's Adri. It's just like, why are you whining? Like, all you're asking for is a spoon, and you don't want to get up because you're cold. Like,
right.
that's not a reason to start just crying at the whole table. Like, nobody else is crying or upset about anything,
Right.
and you're whining about a spoon.
So, but there are those circumstances where it's like, maybe they just are feeling overwhelmed and they're telling us in the way that they know how, like, I really would like a little bit of help right now. Like, I don't need it, but I'm asking for it in the way that I know how, because I need that connection, right? And so I think it's easy to miss that, right? Especially when we're tired of, running a full, restaurant and all of the other things we have to do.
Yeah. When I make grilled cheese and tomato soup, the kids call it Dad's Restaurant for whatever reason. I think Adri started it because they were all doing like a little like group club sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're all gonna go to a Dad's Restaurant.
Yeah.
I was like, here's grilled cheese and tomato soup.
Right.
Enjoy.
Yeah. So, so it is something that, like, we want them to be independent. I would never, ever suggest that, like, you should do everything for your kids. And not even every day, because if you do it every day, then it's not like a special thing anymore. Like, if your kid's expected to make the bed every day, and then one day you, like, sneak in and, like, make it real quick while they're brushing their teeth because you know that that's important to them, then you've done something special for them, right? Like, I made your bed today,
Right. And usually for things like that, like I don't egg them on, but I sort of like build up to it. Like, hey, you need to go make your bed, and then they like walk in and it's already done. Like, so you got to build it up, like you can't just let it be like.
Oh, I'm just sly about it. Like,
I see. I have to point it out. It's like, hey, you need to go do that.
because Josh wants, like, the recognition or the affirmation for that. But
I did it for you, so now I get affirmation. Another love language we'll talk about.
So, but I think that that's something. It is a little bit. It's a kind of a difficult one sometimes. Difficult to receive, difficult to give, because of that parent-child dynamic. But it's a really cool love language. Like, it shows such a, like, servant's heart. Like, it shows such a desire to give of yourself in that way. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. And so even though it's kind of a difficult thing, I think it's well worth putting in the time and learning how to give that to your kids in that way as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that is probably all we have time for, as the kids will be waking up soon. I think somebody threw a note into us earlier, so they may already be awake.
Sneaky delivery.
Yeah.
Until the next adventure.
Bye.